Nobody chooses suffering. You did not choose the loss. You did not choose the betrayal. You did not choose the illness, the failure, the grief, the season of life that broke you in ways you are still trying to understand. Suffering arrives uninvited. It stays longer than welcome, and it leaves marks that do not easily fade. And yet, 3 of the greatest civilizations in human history looked at suffering not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a teacher to be heard. Not because suffering is good, but because what it reveals about us, about our strength, our values, our capacity for wisdom, cannot be learned any other way. Today, we explore what that means through the Stoics of ancient Greece, through the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and Buddhist wisdom, and through the Taoist and Confucian masters of ancient China. Stay with me, because what these ancient voices discovered about suffering will not remove your pain, but it may change your relationship with it forever. In the winter of 177 AD, Marcus Aurelius faced a world that seemed determined to break him. Plague was sweeping through Rome. Hundreds of thousands were dying. His armies were stretched across 3 frontiers simultaneously. His own son, Commodus, was revealing a character that would eventually disgrace everything his father stood for. And yet every morning, before the demands of empire began, Marcus Aurelius sat alone and wrote to himself. Not prayers for relief, not complaints about injustice, but this: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Read those words carefully. What stands in the way becomes the way. He was not saying, pretend the obstacle is not there. He was not saying, endure it silently and hope it passes. He was saying something far more radical. The obstacle is the path. The suffering is the teacher. The difficulty that blocks your progress is precisely the thing that will develop in you what progress requires. Seneca, who faced exile, poverty, and eventually was ordered by Nero to take his own life, wrote these words from experience, not from theory. Fire tests gold. Suffering tests brave men. And again, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. The Stoic teaching on suffering was not, be numb to it. It was not, perform strength you do not feel. It was, look at what suffering is developing in you. Patience, clarity, perspective. The knowledge of what truly matters and what does not. The discovery of a strength you did not know you had until you had no choice but to find it. Epictetus, who was tortured as a slave, who had his leg broken by his master, emerged from that suffering not diminished but clarified. He said, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." Not passive acceptance, but the active choice to find meaning in what arrives, rather than exhausting yourself fighting what cannot be changed. The Stoics did not deny that suffering hurts. They insisted that it teaches. In the ancient Chinese tradition, the relationship with suffering was understood through a story. A farmer had one horse. One day the horse ran away. His neighbors came to console him. "What terrible misfortune," they said. The farmer replied, "Perhaps." The next day the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. His neighbors came to celebrate. "What wonderful fortune," they said. The farmer replied, "Perhaps." The following day, his son was thrown from one of the wild horses and broke his leg. His neighbors came to console him. "What terrible misfortune," they said. The farmer replied, Perhaps. The next week, soldiers came to conscript all young men for war. His son, with the broken leg, was passed over. His neighbors came to celebrate. "What wonderful fortune," they said. The farmer replied, "Perhaps." This story, known as Sai Weng Shi Ma, is one of the most ancient parables in Chinese philosophy, and its teaching is profound. We do not know what suffering is for. We cannot see far enough to judge whether a painful event is misfortune or preparation, whether a loss is an ending or a redirection. Lao Tzu wrote, "Return is the movement of the Tao. Yielding is the way of the Tao. The tree that survives the storm is not the one that stands most rigid. It is the one that bends, that yields to what cannot be resisted, and straightens again when the storm passes. This is not weakness. This is the intelligence of water, which yields to every obstacle and yet carves the Grand Canyon." Confucius approached suffering from the direction of character. He said, "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Not never suffer, not be untouched by difficulty. But what do you do in the moment after the falling? That moment, the choice made in the aftermath, is where character is revealed and where wisdom is born." The Buddha's first teaching, delivered in a deer park at Sarnath after his enlightenment, began not with joy, not with peace, not with liberation. It began with suffering. He called it the first noble truth, Dukkha. Life contains suffering. This is not pessimism. This is the most honest observation ever made about the human condition. The Buddha did not say, "Life is only suffering." He said, "Suffering is real. It is present. It is universal. And the first step toward wisdom is to stop pretending otherwise." But he did not stop there. The second noble truth: suffering has a cause, not external events alone, but our attachment to how things should be rather than how they are. Our clinging to permanence in a world of constant change. Our resistance to what life actually delivers. The third noble truth: the cause can be released. And the fourth: there is a path to that release. The Buddha was not offering escape from difficulty. He was offering a way to meet it without being destroyed by it. The Bhagavad Gita speaks to this with characteristic directness. Krishna says to Arjuna, "You grieve for those who need no grief. The wise grieve neither for the living nor for the dead." This is not coldness. It is the recognition that grief born of attachment to the permanent, in a world where nothing is permanent, multiplies suffering unnecessarily. And then, the soul which is not moved, the soul that with a strong and constant calm takes sorrow and takes joy indifferently, lives in the life undying, takes sorrow and takes joy indifferently, not without feeling them, but without being defined by them, without being destroyed by the one or intoxicated by the other. This is the Indian teaching on suffering, not that it should not be felt, but that it need not be the final word about who you are. You are larger than your suffering. You were here before it arrived. You will be here after it passes. The question is not, will you suffer? You will. The question is, who will you become in the becoming of it? 3 civilizations, 3 encounters with the same universal human experience, and 3 versions of the same wisdom. Marcus Aurelius in the Palace of Rome, watching plague and war and betrayal, writing to himself by candlelight, "What stands in the way becomes the way." The Chinese farmer watching his horse run away and return, and his son fall, perhaps. The Buddha in the deer park at Sarnath, Speaking his first words of wisdom to 5 former companions, suffering is real. Its cause can be understood. And there is a path through it. They never met each other. They never read each other's words. And yet, the same teaching, the same recognition, the same invitation. Suffering is not the opposite of wisdom. It is, when met with clear eyes and an open heart, one of wisdom's most reliable and most demanding teachers. Not because pain is good, but because the person who has walked through genuine darkness and found something steady within knows something about themselves that comfort could never reveal. The Stoic calls it the tested self. The Taoist calls it the bent bamboo that did not break. The Buddhist calls it the jewel polished by friction. One truth: the fire that tests you is also the fire that forges you. And what emerges from that fire, if you let it, is not the person you were before. It is someone wiser, someone clearer, someone who knows from the inside that they can endure more than they ever imagined. Subscribe to One Truth, Many Voices, where every week we sit with the greatest minds of Greece, India, and China, and listen for the wisdom that runs beneath all their words. One truth, many voices, many paths. See you next week.